Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink, I have in sample form, but I'd call large format sample form. This is a Noodler's ink exclusive to Fountain Pen Hospital of New York City. This is Old Dutch Colony Sepia, and I got, well, roughly 3 drams of it, I guess, from, I don't know, is it 3 or 2? Something like that, from the wonderful original mysterious benefactor who sent them over in some vials that exploded, but I managed to recover this. So, yeah, I'm really grateful to have it. If you enjoy the review, send him some appreciation, because it wouldn't have happened without him. So yeah, this is another one of those Noodler's exclusive inks. There's something a little weird about this ink, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to put my finger on it, but it is thick. I don't know how to describe it, but it is thick, and it dries weirdly in the pen. Do not accidentally leave it in a pen for a week. It will be unpleasant. But also, I'm going to show you something about how the ink matured weirdly on certain papers. But anyways, I'm not selling this very well from the start, am I? It's a brown. It's sort of, I don't know if I'd call it sepia, but it is sepia-esque. So, yes, on with it. So, here are the 2 pens that I use. This is a Pilot Metropolitan with a Japanese medium nib, so it's a pretty fine nib by Western comparisons. But I also use this as a JinHao X450, and I love my X450s because they're pretty broad and pretty wet, and this one is. This ink, however, dries incredibly quickly on the nib. So as I'm going through these tests, I'm like using this pen and then putting it down, using this one and putting it down. And when I pick this up again, it had dried on the nib pretty quickly. So, spoiler alert, that happens. Is that a spoiler? I don't know. Now, let's check out some comparisons. So, here, as you might be able to tell, this is sort of like it's like a honey brown. It's got some vibrancy to it. So, there's Old Dutch Colony Sepia. And here's Gerabin's VittaR, which I'd just say has some green undertones through here that this one doesn't quite have. And this one maybe has a little bit more like red, tiny bit of red in the darker areas. Now, next up is Noodler's Kiowa Pecan, which I say is quite similar, except here I'd say the yellow bits and the orange bits are a bit sharper. Here they're just sort of softened a little. Here is KWZ's Iron Gall Mandarin, which, yes, is lighter, but I feel like from this angle, no, that didn't help. But yeah, there is some definite orange through there. Not as orange as we get through here, but still. And then lastly, an ink that I hated because it was so dull it put me to sleep, was Diamine's Golden Brown, which is the color of cardboard boxes. But yeah, honestly, okay, I have 527, yes, I counted them, swatches, and these were the closest. Yes, including that one. I don't have much that looks like this, but what I do is actually fairly similar in some cases, and then it becomes a stretch. So, yeah. Anyways, there you go. Comparisons. And now this, so these chromatographies are going to help demonstrate what I mean by there's something weird about this ink. Now, the one on the left with the D in the corner is how you're supposed to do it. Or no, that is the one that I let dry. The one on the right is the one where you do it the way you're supposed to do it, where you put the line of ink and then pretty much instantly dunk it in the water. This one, I put the line of ink at the same time as this and then left it to dry for as long as it took this entire test to dry, which is maybe about 10-15 minutes. Now, in the test, as you're supposed to do it, you can definitely see where the initial drop was put. There's this purplish pink thing going on. It's kind of a chalky color. And then you can see it fighting being pushed up, and then you get sort of like this, I don't know, it's kind of patchy, like brown bit, and then up here we get this like violent yellow in some spots, which was rather curious. Now, in just the 10 or 15 minutes I gave this to dry, this solidified. I'm not even kidding. It became like a plastic almost, and it would not let water through. In fact, how this happened was I was trying to like even dunk it deeper into the water. So here's the surface of the water, and it actually was forcibly resisting letting the water touch the page and wouldn't let the water touch it, like it was creating a protective force field. I wish I could have gotten it on camera. Until it got back up to the top, and then it started pushing this yellow stuff, which was almost frightening. But that was my first indicator that I was in for something weird here. So yeah, it was weird. Now here are some resistance tests. Calm down, camera. This had maybe about an hour to dry. Here you can see that that yellowish stuff kind of started to move, but that red underneath very much stayed in the same pattern as it was before underneath all that yellow. Bleach actually got some of it moving, but really not much. In fact, very little at all. And ammonia pen flush didn't do much better than water. Neither did hydrogen peroxide. But all of them did this. So that weird yellow came out the back. And we're going to see that again. Now, paper test. Top down in density, Clairefontaine, 90 grams per square meter. Something about the quality of the ink that's changed, am I right? It's a little meh, am I right? I mean, here we got this. Here we got this. This seems almost like faded, or like it's starting to fall asleep. It's lost some of its intensity. And it's lost it since I finished the test, because I was quite enjoying it. Like here it said it looks like varnished oak or birch. It looked very nice, and yes, we do have shading. The thing is, we used to have a more shiny, dramatic shading like this, and now it's starting to look kind of cardboard boxy. Now that Japanese medium took 13 seconds to dry. That fairly broad and wet JinHao took 17. And actually, it actually is kind of shady and shiny. It's glossy like oil paint in some spots, which is really weird. But yeah, there's no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo, no sheen, because it gets shiny like oil paint. But yeah, the ink feels thick. It dries weird on the nib. So like here, so you know, I used that X450 to do that, and then I put it down to do this. And when I picked it up again, I was having some trouble. And that's a theme we're going to see. Now the water test, that red, purpley, chalky thing underneath, yes, it is there. That yellowy brown stuff is washing away. So is it permanent? Kind of. Parts of it are permanent. Other parts of it will leave. It will not stay the same color. But it is very clear, very readable, very there. It's just not the same. And I don't know if this is going to show through, but that yellow is starting to come out the back. Now here is Fabriano Echo Qua, 85 gram per square meter. Here, we don't lose that shiny intensity. And I don't know why. See, like now you see it, right? Now you see that it's dulled. We've got it on either side. You can see that it's gotten kind of flattened. I don't know why that happened. It's happened in the couple of months it's been since I finished this test, and I don't know why. It's somewhat unnerving. But yet another reason, sign Fabriano is awesome, because I do love Fabriano. I mean, just look at it. It looks real good on here. Now, we get great shading. Looks very good. That Japanese medium took 13 seconds to dry. The fairly brown wet JinHao took 19. We get a wide breadth of shading. And here you can see some of that shininess. Whereas laid on thickest, which is somewhat unnerving, but still. Yeah, no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo. And I didn't say no sheen because it does get shiny, like oil slick kind of shiny. And again, the water test, it's not brown anymore. It's that chalky reddish purple. But it is there. It is lighter, but it is there. And again, that yellow is starting to come out the back, which is unnerving. Now next up is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter, and we're right back to the dulled color. So yeah, don't know what's going on here, but that Japanese medium took 12 seconds to dry, fairly broad and wet JinHao took 19. And again, you can see where we're having startup issues, so I used it there, put it down, picked up the Japanese medium, and then when I picked up the X450 again, having some trouble. Same thing here, you can see where there was a bit of a hard start with that Japanese medium. I'm getting some hard starts here. It dries very quickly on the nib and it's unpleasant to get unstuck. So yeah, no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo, no sheen. Here we don't really get that shininess. Come on, camera. Not really. And I feel like we don't get nearly the breadth of shading that we got on the Fabriano, but And again, water test, and here you can really see the yellow. It's like clinging to the bottom of the page, but yeah, anyways, that brown and the yellow washed away, we get that purpley, chalky pink red thing going on. That stayed, but it did get lighter. And again, we've got some of the yellow coming out the back, which I cannot explain. Now, next up is Tomoe River, which is known for drawing out shading and sheen and dry times and echo. And yet, even on here, magical Tomoe River, it got dulled. And I don't know why. I don't know why this is happening, but it needed to be pointed out because it's weird. We do get a wide breadth of shading. Here in the heaviest parts of the scrubby, we get that like oil slick kind of shine again. Yeah, we have startup issues. But yeah, the dry times definitely got drawn out. That Japanese medium took 19 seconds to dry. That broad and wet JinHao, once I could get it started again, took more than 30. Yeah. So I don't know if this is going to show up. Do you see that? That yellow? It's coming out the back of the scrubby, and it's also coming out of the back of the water test. It got pushed out the back there, and actually, pretty much anywhere there's a dot to an eye, or these dots here, we get yellow coming out the back, which is weird, because like all this stuff wasn't touched by water. This stuff was, but yeah. Now this paper does love to let ink slide away when you add more water, but it kind of did here. A lot of times, like despite this obviously having some water resistant properties, it did get very light, great deal of it washed away. If you had to recover that, you could. I only hope that maybe you had extra days to let it sink in, but now for the next 3 tests, I only use that Japanese medium except to write the name. And here, I can tell you, they all dulled in color. So they all had that like aged softening of intensity thing going on, which is unfortunate. But anyways, so this is the world's worst 20-pound copier paper. In fact, it's right up there probably with the worst paper I've ever encountered, which is saying something. But yeah, 1.5 seconds to dry. We definitely see some spread. The line width definitely increased. Here it is on Tomoe River. Here it is on the 20 pound. So, but here I'd say it's more like a, I don't know, maybe like a moderate western medium. But now we do have some woolliness and we have some feathering, but really not as much as I was expecting. Because a lot of times these specialty Noodler's inks have some weird properties. Now there is a little, but not as much as I was expecting, especially with how troublesome this ink has been so far. But we do have this. We have little bits coming out the back, and luckily this time they're not just yellow, although the water test is pure yellow out the back, which is weird. And speaking of water test, again, more absorbent papers tend to draw the ink in, make it harder to wash out, and that's kind of what happened here. You can see the stuff at the center is still very dark, very clear. It's bold, it's not moving, it's just that yellow stuff is trying to wash away. So I almost feel like if I kept adding water, maybe it'd be clearer. But also I just wanted to point this out, about how the yellow is just spreading around those dots really intensely, so, yep. Now, next up is Mead Notebook Paper, which is very common for school children in the United States. This is the kind that you'd find in a spiral notebook, not the kind you'd find in a lab notebook. And lately, this stuff has been feathering like crazy. And here it kind of did, but it also kind of didn't. Now, I just want to show you. Come on. We do have a woolliness, but we don't have like the same crazy, crazy distracting feathers we often see. We do have a couple. And unfortunately, where they do crop up, they do really catch the eye. But if you also see in the writing, we have shading. We have a little bit of shading, but still some. Took 1 second to dry. Yeah, it's, now this paper is physically thinner than 20 pounds, so we are going to see something out the back because it is seeping in. But yeah, it's not perfect, but as you can see, it's not actually coming out the back. It's just that you can see it out the back. Again, the water test is all yellow coming out. But yeah, speaking of water test, it's pretty clear, pretty there, fairly dark. Oops, sorry, knocked the camera. That red stuff at the center, reddish purple, it's very stoic. It's not moving. It's, you know, staying there. It's just the yellow is trying to wash away. So, I mean, luckily it's a light color, so it won't be as distracting. But now, lastly is Moleskine notebook paper, which I hate because they make you pay a lot of money for something that's very, very awful. This paper is awful. Now, here it took 4 seconds to dry. I should say seep in because, as you can probably tell from that scrubby, there is intense woolliness. There is feathering. It's ugly looking. You can see the texture of the pulp they mashed into the paper, and it is unattractive. And, yeah, there's a good bit of bleed, too, because it came out the back in several spots. I don't know why I didn't circle it, but the problem is it's like a million tiny little dots evenly distributed, so it was kind of maddening, but yeah. And here we have a water test that for the first time, that stuff at the center, that like red chalky purpliness, is starting to freak out. Like it's starting to come apart, and it's starting to like intensely woolify itself. That yellow doesn't want to leave, so it's distracting. It looks like it's on neon fire or something. I hate ending on Moleskine. Yeah, so there you go. There's the highly unusual Noodler's for Fountain Pen Hospital of New York City Old Dutch Colony Sepia. For some reason on the swatch and on Fabriano, it still looks very beautiful. Everywhere else it got kind of dulled. But yeah, it's an interesting ink for sure. It does weird things that I cannot explain. But yeah, there you go for your consideration from the Triple N Network. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching. Bye.